Did you know that the house famously referred to as Dean Martin's Los Angeles home in Palm Springs once hosted some of the most exclusive and secretive parties in Hollywood's golden era? Parties so legendary they still spark stories decades later? It's a playful contradiction in naming, but it speaks to the world Dean Martin created there. Part laid-back desert oasis, part star-studded extension of the Los Angeles scene, he ruled as the king of cool. Known for hits like That's Amore and Everybody Loves Somebody, he became a major figure on both the music charts and in comedy. Teaming up with Jerry Lewis in the 1940s catapulted him to stardom, but his work with the legendary Rat Pack alongside Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., Peter Lawford, and Joey Bishop cemented his status as an entertainment icon. Even now, mention Dean Martin and people recall a relaxed, suave presence who could belt out timeless ballads and bring the house down with a single raised eyebrow or well-timed joke. His Palm Springs retreat symbolized that same blend of sophistication and nonchalance. It was luxurious yet welcoming, ritzy yet somehow accessible. Its design, its gatherings, and the secrets it kept capture an entire epoch in American cultural history. Contrary to popular belief, Dean Martin's Palm Springs getaway was not as massive as the estates owned by some of his Rat Pack counterparts. Where Frank Sinatra's Twin Palms property sprawled out with a distinct mid-century profile, Martin's desert home was comparatively understated. A close family friend once revealed that Dean preferred the quiet corners of the desert. He wanted a place where he could entertain without fuss, describing it as a comfortable haven more than a status symbol. The home's interior boasted a distinctly mid-century modern style, with floor-to-ceiling windows, angular lines, and open spaces merging indoor and outdoor areas. However, Dean added personal touches that broke away from classic desert modernism. He insisted on plush carpeting, which was far from fashionable in the desert climate. Some guests jokingly griped about stepping onto thick shag after walking through the sandy backyard. Yet Martin would shrug and say, "Hey, I like my toes cozy." One of the home's signature features was its sunken living room, a popular mid-century design choice that created a cozy pit for socializing. Here, Dean often improvised mini performances. A longtime friend recounted moments when, after dinner, Martin would casually stroll into the living room, settle into a low-slung couch, and start crooning classic tunes. Without fail, anyone present would gather around him, mesmerized by the intimate concert. A close confidant remembered, "He'd sing like he was talking directly to you, even if 30 people were in the room." Rumors of over-the-top parties followed Dean Martin everywhere, but those who actually attended them often described something different than the raucous blowouts of pop culture legend. Yes, the Rat Pack would roll in on special occasions. Frank Sinatra was known to arrive with a trail of limousines, but the gatherings were surprisingly laid back, often centered around barbecues by the pool, late-night card games, and spirited yet cordial conversation. One evening in particular became infamous when Sammy Davis Jr. tried to teach everyone the latest dance craze, while Martin insisted on playing only big band records. Amid the confusion and laughter, the memory of that impromptu dance lesson still endures among the lucky few who were there. Despite the relaxed atmosphere, there was an undercurrent of privacy that guests respected. Dean famously disliked talking about money or industry politics at his home. A friend from that era said, he always said, "Leave work at the studio door. This place is for living." And so, although the house bustled with celebrities, they rarely discussed deals or contracts once inside. This rule created a protective cocoon, perfect for a man who, in the public eye, exuded effortless, cool, but privately prized serenity. Interestingly, A lesser-known controversy revolves around Martin's rumored association with certain Las Vegas figures who occasionally visited the desert house. While the Rat Pack's ties to Vegas casinos and their alleged connections to organized crime were always a topic of debate, no substantial evidence tied Martin's Palm Springs home to anything untoward. Still, whispers lingered, fueled in part by sightings of men in dark suits pulling up late at night. Martin himself laughed off the rumors, once quipping on stage, "Those suits don't come around here for me. I don't owe them a dime." Nonetheless, speculation persists in some circles, adding a veil of mystery to the home's history. Dean's beloved second wife, Jean Beaker, played a significant role in shaping the home's warm atmosphere. She oversaw much of the interior decorating, mixing mid-century furnishings with European antiques to reflect their shared tastes. A neighbor once commented that Jean was the house's real hostess-in-chief, ensuring that guests felt at home and that no glass went empty. Even as their relationship evolved, the love they poured into the residents stayed evident in the tasteful design and thoughtful touches. Another hidden detail is the custom-built recording nook in a corner of the house. While most of his official sessions took place in top Hollywood studios, Dean occasionally recorded demos at home. An engineer who worked with him there recalled a surprisingly methodical process. Dean was relaxed, sure, but once we hit record, he was a perfectionist. He'd redo a single line a dozen times if he didn't like the phrasing. The small booth allowed him to test out new songs or vocal arrangements without the pressure of a formal environment. One of the most endearing anecdotes comes from a local mail carrier who delivered letters to Martin's property for years. She described how Dean would wait outside on especially sunny days, sipping lemonade by the gate, always greeting her by name. On more than one occasion, he even offered her a quick rest in the shade and a glass of water before she continued her route. It's a simple story, but it speaks volumes about Martin's genuine warmth when off camera, what you might call a gentle generosity hidden behind the showbiz glitz. Controversy occasionally flared regarding Martin's lifestyle, particularly his well-documented on-stage persona as a heavy drinker. While he did enjoy a good time, multiple sources close to him insisted that his stage act exaggerated his love for liquor. His home bar, however, was undeniably well stocked, mostly for guests. A friend who often stayed over said, "Dean had a single preferred cocktail, but the rest was for the party. People assumed he was some kind of booze machine, but they'd be surprised to see him quietly nursing a soda during those rowdy nights." During the height of his success, the desert property became both an entertainment hub and a family haven. Dean's children would visit, weaving childhood memories around the pool, the sweeping desert views, and the unstoppable star power of their father's colleagues, casually strolling through the patio. Years later, Martin's daughter Deanna reflected in an interview, "It was Daddy's place to really be Daddy. He'd barbecue for us, watch old westerns on TV, and just seem happy." In that sense, the house wasn't just a celebrity playground. It was a sanctuary for a father trying to balance stardom with parenthood. Over time, the house underwent modest renovations, including expansions to the pool area and updates to the kitchen. But the essence remained the same, a mid-century gem that combined Dean's polished style with the breezy desert vibe. Even after Dean Martin's heyday, various owners, some famous, some private, cherished the property's connection to the Rat Pack legend, preserving architectural details while modernizing conveniences. Today, one can still find subtle traces of Martin's influence, like the distinct bar shelving he had built to accommodate his favorite whiskey glasses, or the vintage intercom system, used to summon guests from different rooms for a late-night card game. Frank Sinatra once said of him, "He was the best friend a guy could have, dependable, funny, and cool to the end." Sammy Davis Jr. echoed similar sentiments, calling him a brother in spirit. But the real measure of Martin's warmth came from everyday people who crossed paths with him at the supermarket or at the golf course near his Palm Springs home. They consistently described a man who, despite immense fame, treated those around him with disarming kindness. Of course, the question of whether Martin was truly happy in the desert remains open to interpretation. He experienced multiple marriages and divorces, heartbreak over professional splits like the one with Jerry Lewis, and personal challenges, including the tragic loss of his son Dean Paul Martin in the 1980s. Some visitors claim the home felt increasingly subdued in Dean's later years, as if reflecting his quieter mood. One former housekeeper remembered he'd sit by the window and stare out at the mountains like he was lost in a memory. This more introspective side of Martin adds complexity to the carefree image he projected to the world. Debates about Dean Martin's influence on American culture continue. Some see him as a comedic sidekick overshadowed by Jerry Lewis, or the Rat Pack's second fiddle to Frank Sinatra. Others argue he was a standout entertainer in his own right, blessed with a voice that rivaled Sinatra's and comedic timing that was unmatched. He helped shape a new brand of show business cool, the witty lounge singer who could swing a tune and toss out a joke with equal ease. His style still echoes in modern performers who blend humor and music, proving that his legacy didn't end when the curtain fell on the Rat Pack era. Within the context of Palm Springs, Martin's residence stands as a shining example of how Hollywood's biggest names gravitated to the desert for respite, recreation, and maybe even a little reinvention. His house was a crossroads for glamorous parties, family gatherings, and spontaneous jam sessions, an unassuming stage where American entertainment legends took a break from the spotlight, yet still created moments worthy of front-page headlines. As we reflect on the Palm Springs era of Dean Martin's life, we can't help but sense that his success and the home that symbolized it embodied a deeper quest for contentment. The property allowed Dean Martin to just be Dean, part of a storied Rat Pack legacy, yet equally a father, a friend, a man who relished a good laugh as much as a well-sung note. The quiet corners of his house may reveal as much about him as any gold record, an individual seeking peace amidst a glamorous, demanding profession. That balance between fame and normalcy is a struggle countless stars face, but few navigated it with Martin's calm confidence. In the end, Dean Martin's Palm Springs home reminds us that even the brightest stars need their own slice of calm. It's a place that held laughter and heartbreak, extravagant gatherings, and the simplest family moments. Although times have changed and show business has evolved, the property still resonates with the timeless cool of a man whose music and persona continue to captivate audiences around the world. Perhaps the greatest lesson we can draw from Dean Martin's desert sanctuary is that real contentment might lie in cherishing small moments and meaningful connections, a notion we sometimes forget in a fast-paced, attention-grabbing age. At his Palm Springs home, the king of cool lived his life away from the cameras, grounded by good friends, good humor, and a gentle desert breeze, a legacy as warm and inviting as the home itself.